From the National Weather Service in Raleigh, it's Nick Petro with your winter storm briefing and update for this weekend's event. Not many changes from our 5 a.m. slide set this morning. And in the blue, where you see the blue, that's where winter storm watches are in effect. So basically, counties west of I-95, except for the counties that are right on I-95, I guess with the exception of Cumberland County. But anyway, you can see there where the watches are in effect. All right, so jumping right into it. So snow, ice, wind, power outages, hazardous travel, flash flooding, and maybe even some river flooding early next week. Minor at that, but can't rule that completely out, are all the hazards. So we'll get to the details of each of these hazards here in just a minute. And obviously, we're probably, on a scale of about, I don't know, 1 to 5, where 1 is none, no concern, is 5 is extreme. We're about 2 to 3 in this event. So this is not the extreme type of event that, I could think of some historical storms that would have been extreme, like the January 2000 major snow event, or I think it was the 2002 ice event, if I'm not mistaken. Those were more on the red and purple extremes. This is not like that. Okay, this is not an extreme event. This is an elevated hazard, an elevated impact event, but certainly not extreme. All right, so let's just get right into the what and when and where. All right. So 4 a.m., we'll start to see precip overspreading the state from southwest to northeast. Okay, and this is, if I could, I'd remove, and I will before I send these out, late Saturday night. I think this is more Sunday morning. And that's been the trend in the last 24 hours, is to slow things down a little bit. There's some models out there that don't show any precip falling until noon Sunday because there's such dry air. There's going to be dry air. So you're probably wondering, well, gosh, it's going to be in the 40s, approaching 50 the day before. What gives? Well, we're going to have a cooler air mass coming in from the north, and especially a drier one. And oftentimes in the winter, it's the dryness that sets up the cold air. And because whenever precipitation falls into dry air and that precipitation evaporates in the dry air, the end result is cooling. Okay, so we call that evaporation cooling. So that's what's going to be happening here Sunday morning. So anyway, by 7 a.m. Sunday, we should see sort of a north to south transition in a wintry mix. More snow across the central and northern half of central North Carolina, and then that transition to the sleet and freezing rain across the southern half. And then finally, this is kind of the time frame that we think things are going to be really hitting hard and really conditions deteriorating pretty rapidly in that 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Sunday time frame, with snow overspreading, central North Carolina across basically for areas, north of Highway 64 by 10 a.m., south of 64, transitioning to freezing rain. It looks like that freezing rain, eastern extent's going to get a little bit further south and east than what we were predicting 24 hours ago. But nevertheless, that rain and that warm air will eventually work its way north. So you'll see those P-types, those precipitation types, basically shifting north. So the extent of the snow and sleet mix should be confined to areas along and north of 85 as we get into early afternoon Sunday, with freezing rain basically between I-85 and I-95. Even as far south as Fayetteville could get in on some accumulating ice. So we'll have to obviously keep our eyes on that and see, how much, if any, further south or east it goes. But nevertheless, that rain will work its way inland. Okay, because there's a lot of warm air coming up with this system. I think we're going to see the western edge of the rain gradually moving westward with time. By 4 p.m., I wouldn't be surprised if everywhere east of US 1, Now, I'm going to get my highlighter here just to clarify. US 1 runs something like this, and pardon me if I don't get it perfect, but that's basically when we say US 1 corridor, that's kind of what we're talking about, So from, western Franklin County running through Wake and western Wake down through Lee and Moore County down into Richmond. That line right there is oftentimes a delineator between how far west the rain can make it versus where that transition line back to freezing rain is. So US 1 is a road that kind of is helpful for us in describing how far west P-type changeovers may occur. And in this case, we think the rain's going to make it as far west as US 1 by 4 p.m. Sunday. Now, of course, that'll be helpful because any freezing rain or ice that accumulates prior to that will the rain will hopefully melt some of that ice accumulation. Meanwhile, if you're up in Greensboro, up in Greensboro and Winston-Salem, up in Person County, you're probably wondering, well, gosh, it's still snowing and sleeting here by 4 p.m. Sunday, and of course that'll be the case. That normally is the case with the closer you get to the northern northwest Piedmont up by the Virginia border down to the Triad. Those are the last places to change over. The snow and sleet will hold on the longest there, and that is pretty typical. And finally, this storm is actually gonna really not be around too long. I think we're talking about in total maybe a 10-hour event, maybe even less than that, 8 hours, maybe 10 hours at most where it's precipitating. But the precip is going to quickly wind down. I should change that word gradually because I think it's going to be pretty fast. But nevertheless, it's going to wind down during the evening and early overnight hours Sunday night. Okay, so by Monday morning, all the precip's done, and we're waking up to see what's left of ice. If you're in the triangle and points east, probably not much. I bet the rain's probably going to take care of a lot of that. But if you're west of Raleigh, things are going to be, you're going to have snow and probably some ice on the ground and on the trees. Okay, so anyway, how much? This is our official forecast. Remember, I said that it'll be last to change over in the Triad. So that's obviously where we have our highest snow amounts, 4 to 6 inches of snow. And it would probably be even more than 6 inches if it wasn't for the fact that it's going to change over to sleet. The sleet will hold these numbers down. Okay, so 4 inches, that might be it. It might be 3 inches of snow and maybe 1.5 inches of sleet. But 4 to 6 is probably it. Thanks again to the sleet. And then gradually those numbers lessen as you go south and east. Okay, so that's the most likely. Now, of course, there's always alternate scenarios, and in this modern day and age, we run a program called probabilistic snow, where we give alternate scenarios. What's the least amount you could see, or what's the absolute worst case scenario? And the absolute least is on the left, and the absolute worst case scenario is on the right. And you'll notice the worst case scenario isn't particularly much higher. That's not much higher than our official forecast. And again, the reason why that's the case is because of the transition to those other precipitation types. Snow is held back by sleet and freezing rain in terms of the, accumulation in amounts. That's why we think, our official forecast is pretty close to the high end. So anyway, those are the alternate scenarios. Now, in terms of how much ice is going to accumulate, this is what we think, basically somewhere between I-85 and I-95, there's going to be a sweet spot of ice accumulation where there's going to be 1/4 to maybe 1/3 of an inch of ice that accumulates. And we're talking basically from southern Davidson County, Stanley County, Anson County, our friends in those counties. You might be looking at, lots of trees down and perhaps extended power outages. I think those the Charlotte region to the eastern suburbs of Charlotte, I think are set to get quite a bit of ice. So, and these numbers might be a little bit on the low side for ice accumulation. So if you're listening from Anson County, Stanley County, Montgomery County, maybe even Richmond County, southern Davidson, southern Randolph, maybe even up into Chatham County, You're looking at some pretty decent icing accumulations. Be ready for some power outages, if not numerous power outages. Okay, and there could be, we could be approaching a quarter inch even as far east as Fayetteville. So, our friends in Fayetteville are not out of the woods. Now, this is kind of, I wouldn't say unusual, but doesn't always happen this way. But look how the amounts are lighter in Rocky Mount than they are in Fayetteville. You're probably thinking, well, gosh, Rocky Mount's further north. What gives there? Why is there less icing there than, say, in Fayetteville? Well, it's the way the warm air's coming in. It's sort of wrapping in from the east, and that transition to rain is more of a almost like a north-south oriented line instead of a southeast to northwest line. So it's possible freezing rain may last longer in Cumberland County than it would, say, in Edgecombe County, or even Nash County. So that's why the numbers are tilted in that direction, and that's why Cumberland County is the only I-95 county that's in the watch. Okay, so the tricky one's Johnston County. Things could go either way there. Suffice it to say, if you're in the western part of Johnston County, that's obviously going to be a greater concern than the eastern half. So anyway, that's the way we think the ice is right now. I think the sweet spot's going to be from Charlotte up toward Pittsburgh, in that southwest to northeast line. Get ready for some down trees and power outages for our friends and folks in that part of central North Carolina. All right, so I think the rest of really how this is going to play out, I think could really be well described by our hour by hour forecasts, because this really does a nice job of describing, people always ask, well, what about temperatures? When's it going to go above freezing? When's it going to go below freezing? What's going to happen the next couple mornings? How high is the wind? Is there going to be sun out? How much snow, ice, or sleet? And these graphs answer all those questions. So, for instance, and I just put a few random, locations here. But for example, for Greensboro, this one here on the left, you'll notice, and the way you read this is the times at the bottom and the days at the top, and it starts at 6 a.m. on Sunday. So you can see, look at the temperature. The wind chill is at the bottom here, blue. But look how the temperatures just hold in the mid-20s, holding in the mid-20s all day at Greensboro, and then gradually rising at night, believe it or not. And then we stay below freezing until Monday morning at about 10 a.m. when we finally rise above freezing. Okay, and then so if you're wondering about black ice Monday morning, absolutely, there's temperatures never rise above freezing Sunday and Sunday night, and even Tuesday morning on the far end of the graph, you can see temperatures dipping down to the mid-20s. So any water left on the road in the Triad area, there's going to be black ice issues. What about wind? Well, of course, here's the wind. The sustained wind is this bottom line. The wind gusts are this top line. So it's going to be windy from the northeast and then shifting to west. Now that may actually help things, because if it's windy, that can help dry up any water on the road. And this would be especially helpful for more in the way of our eastern counties that see more in the way of rain. Okay. And then finally, here's this sky cover. Notice the sky cover. This is how much of the sky will be covered in clouds. Well, clearly, while it's precipitating, 100% of the sky is covered in clouds. And you'll notice by Sunday or Monday, notice that we're going to see lots of sunshine. That's what these low values here represent. And then finally, as we look down to the amounts, you can see the precipitation types. Okay, so blue represents when it may be snowing. Okay, purple represents when it may be freezing rain. And this orange represents when there may be sleet. So it's pretty much an all snow event at Greensboro until roughly 1 or 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon. And then you get pretty much anything from sleet to freezing rain to snow. And then it becomes back to all snow again late Sunday night before it all wraps up. Okay. So anyway, that's how you read that. The amounts here are listed as well. So how much snow? Well, between 6 a.m. and 1 p.m., we're looking at about 2.7, maybe 3 inches of snow, and then another 8/10 of an inch of snow. So, you add that up and you're looking at 3.5, 4 inches of snow. and you know how the freezing rain accumulations are listed down here. So there could be a little crusting, a tenth of an inch of freezing rain that puts a crust layer on top of that snow. And again, this is in Greensboro. The graph over on the right is for Raleigh. Okay, and you can see it's different, right? You see more green here. Well, that represents rain. And you can see clearly the blue represents snow, the purple represents freezing rain, the orange represents sleet. So it looks like sometime around 1 or 2 o'clock, look what happens to the temperature. It rises above freezing. So somewhere in the early afternoon Sunday, we switch to all rain. Okay, but until that happens, it looks like there could be a potential for, and let me use a highlighter here so you can see this. Where's my highlighter at here? I'll just use a spotlight. So right here, you can see that this tells us that about 0.14, so a little less than 2/10 of an inch of freezing rain accumulation is expected in Raleigh before it changes to rain. Once it does change to rain, look at that, over a half inch of rain, about a third of an inch of rain, another third of an inch of rain. So we could probably see maybe an inch of rain after it changes to rain. And again, that will be very helpful for helping to clear out any ice that accumulates. And notice how the temperature climbs and holds in the low to mid 30s overnight. Okay, so perhaps, maybe not a black ice issue Monday morning. You could see the temperatures bottom out around 32, but definitely potential for black ice Monday night into Tuesday morning with temperatures falling into the mid 20s. All right, so in case you're wondering, and I'm not going to go through this, to save everybody some time, you can, it's the same idea. Here's one for Rocky Mount and Fayetteville, and you can see when the times change. Now, you're wondering, okay, well, I showed 4 of these. How do I get to my specific location? When you receive this PowerPoint in your email, click this link right here. See where it says hour by hour? Go ahead and click that. That's a clickable link. And when you click that link, you'll get a web browser. Let's see here if the internet will behave and function for me here. What that's going to take you, and I'll just pull it up on a separate page, so bear with me here for a second. What that's going to take you to is, bear with me here, this right here. That if you click that blue link, it's going to take you to this. And then all you really need to do is just click on your location or pick your city. Okay, so if you're in Goldsboro, let's say, you just click Goldsboro, hit submit, and there are your hour by hour elements. And clearly you could see, and then you could change your start time by this drop down box. So I'll put in here 12 a.m. Sunday, and you could see if you're in Goldsboro, for instance, there's only a very brief opportunity for snow and freezing rain before it changes to all rain. Okay, so that's how you can get these graphs, which paint the picture all in one graph of what you could expect in your area. Okay, all right. Just real quick, 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts are clearly possible with this event. So any ice that accumulates, will be aggravated by the wind, which could bring down trees and power lines. All right. So kind of to wrap this up, we're still 2 days away, so things could change. Changes to the details are inevitable. So that's why we're going to keep these webinars going. The next one today will be at 4:30. The next one tomorrow will be at 9 a.m. So I'm doing a 9 a.m. and 4:30 schedule today, Saturday, and Sunday. And that's the way things are looking right now. So if you're in the triads, snow and sleet is your main concern. If you're between 85 and 95, freezing rain is your main concern, with the sweet spot from the Charlotte area up through Stanley and Anson County up toward Chatham County. And if you're along I-95 or east, you're going to see a little wintry mix that's going to quickly change to rain. So that's how we think this is kind of in the big picture. All right, so that is our briefing. And again, be sure to join us here at 4:30 this afternoon for the next update.